Deepak. Today I'm going to talk about how you can migrate your single app monolithic code base to a micro module monolithic code app. So for today agenda is very clear. First we will understand what is monolithic app and what is micro module or simply modules we can say. Uh, then we will understand what is how Node.js requires modules work. After that, we will understand Node.js path and little bit glimpse of Lerna structure. Lerna is a kind of Lerna is a library that help us to create this monolithic or micro modules app. And after that, we will try to create our own similar to something similar to Lerna structure micro modules. Then someday. Before starting any coding, let's understand what is monolithic app. You can see here I have created a very basic Node.js Express server. So uh, this structure have some common config. After that we have some common controls and core library something like I'm using XCS here. So I created a wrapper around it, XCS, so helper wrapper. DB is just I'm using database as a database, which is I'm using Node.js server, JSON server, mock server, and router is very much express router. Services is if you see here is a MVC pattern. So services is which is actually try to get the data from database or some. It could be anything. So right now I'm using just get and post, which is actually called the Node.js JSON server. This structure is moreover like a sample how a monolithic source code can look like. So this is very small source code, but with the time it can grow and it can be very hard to debug and hard to maintain. So let's first run and see whether what is the current behavior of the app. So So I run my server to run the database to mimic the my database. I will run the database. So let's go to Chrome and see what is the output. So since I have created two routes in my Express server, so if you see, I can get the user, and if I try to fetch user by ID, I can fetch it. So this is basic Express service. Let's understand how Node.js require modules works. So let's go to some of the files. So basically, let's go to our router. If you see here router, we are consuming this user controllers, which is coming from controllers. So you can see here path, we are just traversing like one directory above and take the controllers, and inside that we have the controllers user. So similarly, if you go to the controller, you can see we are using services user. So uh, when we require something like it's very easy error prone to manage this kind of path inside like require module, and with the time it become very complex. Like if you have suppose you have multiple modules, then it will be very hard to manage. And so how we can get rid of it? So let's understand in the next chapter. To understand the node path, let's go through the example. So node path is one of the good feature provided by Node.js, which help us to uh, reuse our source code, and it's a very much similar to like Java path. So you define your library and you can access that library from anywhere in your application. So how it's work is very simple. Suppose I want to move this few modules, which is my core, controller, and services to some other library. So let's first create a folder here, lib, and meanwhile we can check whether our app is working or not. So if you see, my app is still working. Okay, now let's break the app. So I'm moving core to the lib. Okay, controller services and okay. So if you see here how we are requiring node modules is very different from the previous one. So how we will solve this problem? So we have to go to our package JSON where we start server. So node path we can define is as a export in Linux server, or we can use some of the library like config which is available in node.js. So for now I'm using, so I define node path as a lib. So I'm telling node.js like consider this lib as my node modules. Okay, so when so if you I go here, when I try to require here, so it will look right now looking for the previous location controllers user. So now I can change this to controller, because if you see lib is now is part of your node modules node path. So I can use directly controllers, and it will behave just similar to that old structure. Similarly, if I go here, this is taking like go one step further. I can also change this to services and user, and similarly I can do same for the services. So I can change this to core HTTP. Let's run again. So okay, if there is no error, it means my server will run. Okay, yeah, still working. What is Lerna? You can go in the Google and search for the Lerna. So Lerna is the, if you can see the definition here, Lerna is a tool managing JavaScript project with the multiple packages. So why we need Lerna or something similar? So if you see our app, even though we achieve what we want using this node path here, but it's hard to manage with the time. So more more packages will come here. It's hard to manage the dependency, and if suppose someone is working in controller, and in the future if they will change, so it will be hard to manage like entire project in one single structure. So how we can help, how we can use Lerna? You can read it here. uh, so I have one similar project which I have built on top of Lerna. So this is the common structure followed by the Lerna. So you can see here we have the packages. Inside that we can use multiple packages, and there are some few configs provided by Lerna that you can use to define your configuration and other steps. Mm. Okay, now let's create something similar, just similar like Lerna. So for that, we need a packages folder here. So what we can do, we can create packages outside of our folder, or we can just simply move lib folder and rename as the packages. So let's move. Sorry. Okay, so we have packages here, and let's see if I use node.js module as it is working or not. So let's say package. So you see we get error because we move the packages here, and if inside this module we require XCS, which is not available. For this kind of stuff, Lerna have concept of like a common module or scope module. So for time being we can do something similar here. So let's do how we can create something similar. Let's go to that module and create a package outside. So there is no package right now, so ls, there is no package. Okay, so just creating a new package is very simple. Okay, and add our common library that we are going to use it here. So for time being, if I already have, okay, let's run again. So my entire app is working as it is. So now we can if you can see, this was our previous structure. We had everything here. Now I move all this app, all the modules that to outside of this project, and this we can use some concept of like git sub module, and we can create all this individual folder as a module. So it's also very simple. So let's go to one of the module and try to create it. How we can create it? So we can say packages, cd controllers. Okay. Just create a package and get init. Okay, so now it's become another module. So similarly, if you want to use outside, you can create a git sub module, and you can learn how git sub module works in the Google. That's hmm. This tutorial we learn how a monolithic app and how micro modules look like, and how node.js require module works, and what is node path, and we get little bit information how learner look like and what is the learner. So that's it for now. Maybe in next video I will try to explain how we can create a TypeScript module. TypeScript is a very good library or kind of compiler that we can use for strictly typed modules. Thanks for now.